right, good morning, race fam. It is Saturday morning. We are at the Rip Zip Sip for my third attempt at this race, and looks like a good crowd pouring in. Lots of cars, lots of bikes, lots of bike people, lots of racers. It's 9:15 right now. We start racing at 10. Apparently there's a Le Mans start to this year's race, and then there's a sled finish. Curious how that's gonna play out. So in the car, there's me and Kyle's third year, John's third year, Pete's very first bike race ever. So super excited to follow the journey of Pete today and see what he thinks about, you know, bike racing and the scene and the culture. Pretty cold today. The trails are in awesome shape apparently, and I don't suspect that even though it's so sunny, I don't think we're gonna get much softening of the trail according to my weather app. It's currently 12, but I'm wearing Follow Hollow socks, 45 North Japanther boots, which are the lighter weight ones. Then I have thermal tights, windproof pants. On top I have a base layer, bibs, a bib speed suit thing, and then a thermal jersey and the Castelli Gabba jacket. I crashed on the first year, and I was here pre-riding the other week and tried to practice this. Let's see if they definitely smoothed this thing out a ton. This is in great shape. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a non-issue now. Oh, these trails are fast. Man, this is gonna be like crit racing. This is so fast. This is gonna be fun. All right, Rip Zip Sip 2020. Welcome, race fam. All right, now do I take the whole shot here or not? I had a good shot at it. Do I do it? Do I do it? Or not so much? No, not so much. Okay, here's why. See these two gentlemen ahead of me, they're really strong racers, but they're both standing up, and that is something I did not want to do going into this immediate hill climb. I wanted to have a softer start to my heart rate so that I don't die when we get to the top of this hill. So my plan was to stay seated. So I put the nose of the saddle right into my nethers, and that was kind of my reminder to stay seated, but I could still produce really good power. So I have no problem keeping up at this pace. But I was in a good spot to not overextend myself. Now, in the end, perhaps I should have had a little more faith in myself. But in my defense, I was really, really quite sick 2 days prior to this. I skipped my workout Thursday, slept terribly Thursday, Friday. Just started to feel better really the day of this race. Wasn't sure I was even going to go on the trip, much less race, but it all came together right at the last minute. Now, this first bottleneck is where things really slow down. Now, if I had to do it again, knowing what I know now, of course, I think I would have fought harder for that hole shot so that I could get ahead of some folks, right? Because I think I had really good fitness and pretty good handling skills. Now, we're using a Rilo 360 camera. I put the Amazon link in the description. Great little camera, and it survived much better than the GoPro during this race for the cold weather. So it is a unique camera. It takes a little bit more effort to edit, but it is really cool and offers some unique perspectives. Now, I don't have a camera when I'm racing, so I can't really tell what's behind me. All I know is that I feel like we're going too slow to be at the head of this race, and I get the feeling as I'm racing, I remember the feeling that there's a bunch of riders stacked up behind us. In reality, as you can see from the camera, that's not the case. There's really only 4 of us up here contending for the front, maybe 5, and Isaac, who won last year, is leading the charge, and he's doing fine in the single track. Later on, he struggled a bit on the hills. He had a baby in his defense, but so that'll always slow you down. But I feel like if I would have pushed harder to get that hole shot, I could have potentially been ahead of these two gents, and the eventual race winner, I guess I don't want to say who that was yet, but anyway, in the top 4 folks, there was a bit of competition. So it's going to remain like this for a while because this single track, there's just absolutely no way you can pass somebody unless you just push them into the snowbank, which is just really not okay. So we're just going to hang on until things clear up here. No one can pass me. I can't pass them. So we're all just sort of stuck here, which is fine. That's no problem. That's just how it goes. So my thought process going into this race, again, being sick, trying to recover from that, is just see what happens. Don't stress about it either way. Now, in reality, what happened is my fitness is really good. And the last time I raced fat bikes, I was buried by fatigue. So I didn't really get a true test of where my fitness was. But having that sickness ahead of this race allowed me to get recovery in my legs and get some freshness in terms of like where Training Peaks or TrainerRoad would tell you are. And that worked out really well. So this ended up being a huge confidence builder race for me. And so if you're on TrainerRoad and you've been following along my process or using Zwift or some sort of structured program, I guess the thought process that runs through my mind is, should you be using these early season races to test your fitness? And I think yes. I don't think it's going to mess up your training. It was just this last week that I got into the build phase, so having some high intensity stuff was perfectly on par for where I should be doing. So, okay, a little bit later into the first lap, it opens up into some single track, which is great. The trail organizers made this an incredible course. I can't say enough about this race, so if you get the chance to do this, do it. Now, once we open it up to double track, it's just me and the person who was behind me previously footage. I look back at him right at this moment. I say, hey, you can pass if you want. Now, maybe I should not have done that, and in some respects, I regret it because I didn't get to pre-ride this section of the course, so I didn't know we were coming into this big hill climb. Now, he could have been not as good of a climber as I feel like I maybe am, which I'm not, but he was fine in climbing. So I guess I was really content to just follow people all day and let them set my pace, which really worked out fairly well. Now, this gentleman here ends up winning the race, I'll just tell you. So he did a great job, a flawless race. He was a good pace to follow. So I was really happy to follow him, I guess I have less risk of crashing if I'm following him through the single track. So you can see here, sometimes he would pull ahead, sometimes I would catch right up. It just sort of depended. I know he put in a few attacks, but there was one particular area where he could just walk away from me every single time, and that was in this section that had much larger sort of flow section with big berms and high-speed turns going down a big hill. So you can see he kicks a leg out, but what I later found out is he has a dropper post on that bike, and that allows him to kick the weight to the rear of the bike and get a better grip going down those big hills. So he was able to rip some of this stuff that I was just a little bit slower being able to do that. But that downhill section, I'd have to make up 100, 150 yards every time we'd go through there. So after a while, that's going to have an effect, right? And it did. So again, I think fitness-wise, I could keep up with this person, which is great. Apparently, he's pretty well known in that area and pretty fast. So it was a huge confidence builder for me to mentally stay in the game, and that's something I want you to think about in your racing, is thinking about all those hours you're putting in the basement or all the training that you've done before and really leaning into that during the race. And I absolutely did that during this race. I was trying to think of those times I've been stuck in the basement for hours on end, doing my tests, following my plan. So after this back and forth yo-yoing, I kind of catch up right at the end of the race and almost close the gap and actually almost take out his kid, who was handing out the sleds for the sled finish, but everybody was safe and we had a lot of fun. So it was a good time. So this is the end of the race. I ended up getting second. I lost by like 12 seconds. Here's the finish. My camera died. Everything died. So this is a little footage of me finishing up the race. And then we had some more fun for the day.
All the way to the top of the hill, turned right to come down that big swoosh, and just fell over in the snowbank.
You did?
Like spread eagle, just lay there.
Were you tired or did you fall?
Oh, he was cooked. That hill.
I was tired and I couldn't stay on the track.
Yeah.
And I put my leg down and I was
Post hold?
Yeah.
All right, it's called the Rip, Zip, and Sip race because the Rip is the bike race.
What do you got there? Coffee?
Yeah. The Zip is the zip line. And the Sip is the beer. So we're gonna go do that. That worked out well.
Enjoy that tour.
Yeah.
It's
What
great.
was the tour?
At the distillery.
The Pete one was a tour of this distillery, and the distillery is like a quarter of a mile away from the race, so we just decided to stop here. Now what's funny is I know I did a video like 2 weeks ago about how you probably shouldn't drink a lot of alcohol because it screws up your training, and here we are drinking beer and touring a distillery, but you know, what are you gonna do? I'm very happy with my race, so I guess I'm gonna celebrate that a little bit.
Thank you.
Have a good day.